Hello, I am Grace Lee, and I have done a video. I have been modifying my behavior of seeking validation and praise from the external world and sources in order to cultivate more self-love, worthiness, and authenticity. The very first step of this process was to get a good baseline of my behaviors, to be able to become more aware of them, to work on changing them, and the places that they originate in my life. This has allowed me to see gradual change over time. From just a month ago, I was posting on Instagram almost every day for validation and praise, lying to my partner about my past, from telling white lies to things about my past, from present things, white lies, holding back from saying and doing things in public with strangers and new friends out of fear of being judged and criticized, to now posting only when it feels authentic to me about something wholesome and real that's going on in my life, when I want my family to see, when something amazing happens and I feel the inspiration to post about it from my own heart and soul and my own words. I tell the truth now more than I ever have. And I even take the first step in initiating myself and speaking my truth to strangers, to myself, and my partner, most importantly. I care more about how it feels for me and my integrity than living out of fear now. That's been a huge stepping stone mantra. Is this empowering to integrity, or is this perpetuating fear and lack mentality? From just a month ago, I was living in a bit of an unconscious state of mind, negative belief systems, a lot of unworthiness and insecurities, scared to do the work because I was addicted to that comfortability, and there was a lot of forward propelling motion keeping me in certain comfortable patterns, where it took this huge shift from almost my partner almost leaving me and to have this project align perfectly with timing in that. So I've had a lot of motivation and momentum to pivot my life into focusing on which blind spots, insecurities, negative belief systems work against me. And I've noticed that when someone feels a lack, they're insecure, they don't feel good enough, they won't speak up, they won't speak their truth, they don't have clear boundaries, they neglect themselves. And I don't want to be that girl anymore. So that motivation of being a better person has helped me achieve these small goals the past month. So I'm really excited to share more. The first step of achieving a good baseline was awareness and self-reflection for me. I reflected and journaled aloud to my voice recorder, to my phone, almost every day since the beginning of this project to now. I needed to understand the root causes and triggers for seeking the validation in order to bring in more awareness, since it was functioning from a subconscious place most of the time. The biggest ways these behaviors affected my life was lying, faking my level of beauty and knowledge on Instagram and in real life, being affected negatively in my emotions when someone I care about expressed judgment or criticism, feeling good about myself only when praised in any way, not tending to myself and my needs, neglecting myself for people around me. These were the close-up targeted behaviors of my project. This has greatly impacted me over time by keeping a piece of my life and myself and my truth stored away, just waiting to be lived ferociously, all the way, authentically. When we act out of, in any way, when we act out for others' approval, we morph into what others need us and want us to be digestible. Growing up is honoring yourself and your worth by living every day to the bounds of exactly who you are and what you want to say. Even with this paradigm, I do strive to be better, and I do want to be as honest as possible when I can. So when I can control it, I am vulnerable, which is why I chose this topic to analyze in the first place. Doing research on making myself go from a subconscious programming to more conscious. I've done a lot of research in different areas. in the textbook and out, and they say having the sight to see is the first step to more awareness. So journaling and reflecting, becoming more aware of your blind spots, your behaviors, right? So that you can, and your blind spots are your triggers and insecurities. So these blind spots demand to be seen, so that when we are working from that place, those unconscious patterns can make themselves more conscious, so that we can make that effort consciously to rewire our brain to act differently and think outside of the box in another way than before. The next step is having a vision, getting clear on where you want to go, having goals, manifestation lists, etc. So I have been doing a lot of this work, and one huge subconscious rooted system where a lot of my blind spots and personal characteristic traits came from was a negative belief system that I am not good enough. I think that that's a really common one that we all learn to outgrow at some point, but I deal with this one greatly. This project has definitely helped me discover why. I made a routine every day to look in the mirror and repeat "I love you" 25 times, to connect to my body every day with what felt right in the moment, from stretching, meditating, from a walk, connecting to my heart, choosing to step into fear and rejection till one day that doesn't scare me anymore. So understanding when that fear came up and directing what it was about that situation that made me feel that fear. Okay, someone's gonna ask me a question about who I really am. I'm fear of being judged on Instagram. All of these fears of rejection, not being honest with my partners, my training partners at the gym, when I feel like I want to be honest with something that happened. That's a fear of like, to pause, breathe into that, and do it anyways. And say, you know what? I don't care if people leave me. I don't care if my partner leaves me, because I'm being honest. I wouldn't want to be with that person anyways. I wouldn't want to be friends with people who don't want me to be honest and authentic. People who judge me for being me. I can see that now, and from the conscious effort and rewiring, that a good mantra to say is, are you judging me, or are you judging yourself? Are you not living authentically and you're scared of my expression? Or are you actually judging me and who I am? Because I'm pretty cool. I chose to wear this outfit to my video project because this is me being vulnerable and stepping out of my comfort zone and being silly, because that's who I am. Okay, what else? The next step, having a vision, manifestation list, got that. Blind spots, got that. All the modalities that I've been doing to focus on change, giving a lot of thanks to my life. I've noticed that giving thanks helps me work from a place of gratitude and love and acceptance instead of shame, which is another negative belief system that I've had to face, which has been really hard, because that is a huge belief system and that's very difficult to confront and even change. I'm very comfortable in shame, which kind of goes hand in hand with not feeling not good enough. But the shame is not being good enough, right? So when I've made a mistake, when I act from a place of insecurity and seek validation, this is when I feel shame. Or when I go to do inner work sometimes. I've learned that inner work and growth doesn't change and up level from shame. It happens when we feel acceptance and forgiveness. Not identifying with negative thoughts, beliefs, and mistakes and past versions of myself has helped, and realizing that I have had to build in a new paradigm to allow myself to feel good and starting over every day. Every day is a new day to try again. To trust yourself, trust the work you're doing, restore love into yourself every day, focus on how you feel and the work, the short-term goals every day to eventually lead to big goals and to big rewards. This project has definitely made me think of unconditioned stimulus and response, which is an innate response to the subject and has something naturally invoked the response. I remember reading about the dog used in an experiment. The dog's food was an unconditioned stimulus and a salivation as a response. Then they brought in a neutral stimulus, or something that should produce no response arousal. Through repeated trials pairing the unconditioned stimulus with the neutral stimulus, they discovered that the dog eventually would start to salivate to the neutral stimulus without the unconditioned stimulus present. They coined this reaction as the conditioned response, This procedure shows us how we can reach a point of stimulus substitution. They can eventually replace the unconditioned stimulus with the neutral stimulus and still get the same results. However, what do we do when we want to eliminate the conditioned response? If the conditioned response is causing us distress, then there must be a way to negate the body's response to the otherwise neutral stimulus. We call this process extinction. For example, how it applies to me, you take someone who smokes in the morning, that's paired with their walk. Now their walk is paired with a coffee. They like to have a coffee, and then they begin to notice that the presence of coffee makes them want to smoke. The coffee is therefore the conditioned stimuli, which provokes the conditioned response to smoke. This is Instagram for me, and even close relationships at times, even the ones I feel safe in. Instagram has become a pit of self-destruction and fake boasting of my life, showing the best angles and only sides of me that I want people to see. I've caught myself every time I go on Instagram having the nudge to post something, and even when I go to post a selfie, I'm choosing the best filters and the angles, and I want my Instagram to look a certain way so I can control the people that view how they view me, and Instagram is a controlled stimuli, conditioned stimuli. Conditioned response is my impulse to post. So, as a course of action, I have limited 45 minutes a day to go on Instagram, which is cut in half, and only go for a minute or two at a time, and only post, like I said before, when there's a real desire and I have something to post, not because I just want to post something. So not acting impulsively. The concepts that Pavlov created are extremely important when trying to understand not only why we do things, but how we can change our behavior, which will hopefully change our thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Many of the things that we do without conscious awareness, therefore relying on our own mental cognition to change these behaviors, often does not work. Pavlov showed us that our external environment has a huge part of our conditioned behavior. If we learn to adjust our environment in a certain way, i.e. condition neutral stimulus, we can eventually change our conditioned behaviors without relying on our internal abilities to do so. Quote, Pavlov believed that the classical conditioning was an indirect way of studying neurological processes in the brain, end quote, therefore it can be a very effective way to condition a person away from a bad habit. I noticed along this journey some core root systems where these behaviors stem from. I'll give you a list of where the roots and how they were planted are as important. So the list is as follows. Fear of abandonment, my anxious attachment style, not enoughness, validation from lack of validation from feminine roles in my life when I was a child, but high praise when I did a good job, being a good girl. Being in a relationship, especially in the last year, brings a lot of my fears out. Brings a lot of my rooted system to the surface, good and bad. Had to face a lot of the truth of the ways that I work, who I am and who I'm not, and due to not wanting to be rejected and abandoned, I do a lot out of that energy. So to fit in with my friends and my partner, I anxiously mold into who they would want me to be, who they would admire and respect, even if it's not the person that I actively am. And over the course of the last few weeks, I've noticed that when I go to speak from a place of you're bad, I have a feeling that my heart increases, there's a change in my mood, opinion, action-based peace in the dynamic, and having slightly shifted the body of wisdom and not abandoning my morals, living authentically, because I'm on a journey to greatness. And I have cued my negative internal dialogue with positive thoughts, more like, this does not determine who I am, your mistakes don't define who you are, how you handle them does. I trust the decisions I'm making, I love myself, I make decisions from love and acceptance. I say I'm sorry for myself for not speaking the truth, but next time I'll try better. So not identifying with mistakes as who I am as a person, but just choosing to feel acceptance in the tools that I've had in the past and work towards being a better person, and using that for validation and worthiness. My baseline measurement of the behavior will include how often I engage in this behavior to give you a baseline of where I'm starting from. On average, I acted from validation to be likable, digestible, pretty, cool. And a lot of that would be by posting on social media a handful of time each week. Almost every day I noticed that I would be self-selling. This was probably like 80% to almost 100, honestly, of all of my posting on Instagram. And I would take a lot of words from philosophers, writers, people I admired on Instagram, podcasts, and I would use them as my own ideas, use them as my own thoughts and words. This was the self-fulfilling prophecy that I wasn't enough because I couldn't come up with words. I wasn't a good enough writer and lover and all these different things when I never tried. I never tried to see if I just was present and gave myself time, what would be birthed from my own heart. So, yeah, noticed a lot of posting and a lot of my behaviors were for this validation, 80 to 90%. Give myself that 10%, you know. The PREMAC principle is a great tool to encourage productivity and motivation in various settings. This is because a less desired behavior can be reinforced by the opportunity to engage in a more desired behavior. According to our textbook, the author states that, quote, the principle of an immense practical importance has helped revolutionize the manner in which the process of reinforcement is now conceptualized, end quote, said by Powell in 2022, page 277. I take this principle to resonate with my experience and reconditioning my subconscious to find dopamine in a sense of peace and different things than when I find myself going to post for the self-fulfilling prophecy I was talking about. I then think to myself, what's more important? What kind of person do I want to be? Why are you posting right now? I will find that present moment within, step outside, take a breath, recondition my brain to embrace authentic expression and how it feels, then quick validation, because being my true self does feel more good immediately than living out of fear and keep feeling that subconscious not good enough system, keep getting a tally. My thought process that comes up when I go to post is, who is this for? If the immediate intuitive answer is not for me, I don't post. In real life, if something comes up, a trigger or shame, I step forward into it and I do it anyway to build that safety within the body, to build the worthiness, to conquer the fear so that eventually it won't be a fear. It'll be confidence. I've conditioned my psyche enough now where it does feel, it feels much better to act integral to my truth than to have approval for something that isn't true to me. And I'm already at 17 minutes, so I just want to touch on a few more things. Another concept from the book is the definition that we learned, stimulus generalization. It's a tendency for an operant response to the emitted in the presence of a stimulus that is similar to another stimulus by Kangage. In simpler terms, it's when an individual or organism behaves in a way that was learned from similar past situations. So this resonated with me because I had a revelation about my mother a while ago, because my mother deals with a lot of abandonment, a lot of fear, and a lot of pushing under the rug, don't talk about it, keep the peace, don't judge me, tears, sadness, soft ego, doesn't want criticism, takes a lot of things personally. So I feel like I carried a lot of this energy, and I was taught how to also do this in my life. So I've had to build self-esteem from point zero, like my mother, which has been very, very difficult because that means that it's been 23 years of conditioning being this way, where now I'm trying to be better. I'm having to go core deep because these belief systems are core deep. They're from my whole life. So that's been a very huge challenging aspect, is to be like really honest with myself and actually put in the effort every day to see small results instead of big results, which is another beautiful concept we've learned is SSR over LLR. And I've noticed that it's better to focus on self-control than impulses. I've been very impulsive in the past. And I think that this reward system has really helped me and is going to help me in many, many ways. An example of how I used this was cutting my social media in half, my media time in half, choosing small actions of discipline like self-love practices and modalities, cutting back on smoking and drinking so later I can get the highest, hugest reward of it all, self-trust and respect. Where genuine, authentic love is born, self-validation rises, and life can feel more true to who I am. This is the big reward I'm working towards. So putting in all of this small effort to feeling these little rewards of not posting, to telling the truth, to feeling myself go into a state of shame where I'm closing inwards and I'm feeling that heartbeat increase, breathing, reminding myself of these principles and mantras that they don't define who I am. My thoughts and feelings make up my world. I get to decide how I feel. I am not scared of abandonment. I am not an abandoned person. Changing these belief systems of all of these years in small moments to where they still feel good in the moment, but that's kind of cutting down a lot of dopamine in half from where I got it before, and changing it to where in the future a lot of that like confidence will be earned because it's been worked for. That's the big reward. That's the LLR. Long later reward. Let's see. I've tapped on at least 3 or 4 concepts from the book. Tapped on it being challenging for me and my negative belief systems and what I'm working towards and how I'm going to work towards it, different tools that I'm using, where I started to where I am now. My reasons for feeling this way and how I'm going to change it. Conditioned responses, not feeling good enough. So yeah, that should wrap up my blog. 22 minutes, quite a long time. So thank you for watching and being a follower along this journey and giving me a lot of really good comments along the way. I used some of those comments to help me do this and reflect and change and grow, and your comments and advice was really helpful. I tapped on, I'm pretty sure, everything, and the rest will be in my project, which is 5 pages long, and I have plenty of references here. So, cute heart eyes cowboy out. Meow.